Hi everyone. First of all, Happy New Year to everyone. I figured I'd do an overview of upcoming Neo Vision units, and this covers only Neo Vision units for January 2021. I'm not going to discuss NVA, so Neo Vision Awakened units in this video, or else we'd be sitting here for probably more than an hour, and this PowerPoint presentation already has 23 slides, and I'll be talking at least 1 minute per slide. So we are looking at a pretty long video. I do provide timestamps for each unit I'll be discussing. So if you're not interested in one of them, you may as well skip ahead to the next one you're interested in. And I'd also like to mention that this is merely focusing on dark visions, because what I've seen on my Dark Golem clears was that people are having troubles picking the correct units, and I'm hoping you can't hear what's going on outside. Kids are being loud again, so excuse me for that. So people didn't pull for Terra, which is a pity when covering dark visions, because she's really necessary for dark visions. Not only this one with Dark Golem, but the upcoming ones as well with Dark Anima, and so on and so forth, until we get the uncapped damage cap, which will make it pretty much impossible to cap damage anyway. Okay, so with that out of the way, oh, and by the way, I do want to mention this is my personal view. It is not scientifically proved that these units are the best. I will just give you my take on them and whether I will pull on them or not. Okay, so let's start off with the first one, and we'll be getting Lasswell Neo Vision next week. So on Thursday next week, we are very likely to get Lasswell Neo Vision with his story event. Okay, so his Chest Master is a materia. It provides 50% increased magical and physical damage against dragons, which is pretty cool. And also provides 50% true dual hand equipment attack, plus 25% accuracy. Super Trust Master are close, 42 attack, 24 defense, 70 magic, a little bit higher on the magic side of things. And as you're seeing already, he is not a pure physical base damage dealer. That is more or less so the base form, which is the top image over here. So the top image, also for the upcoming units I'll be showing, is the base form, and the lower one is the Brave Shifted form. His Super Trust Master also increases physical and magical damage against insects, which is a very rare type of killers. So that's a pretty good STMR, I'd say. His vision card, 40-40 base magic and attack on level 1, 65 on level 10. Passive, level 4, 20% attack and magic when equipping close. The same applies to level 7. And at level 10, you'll be getting 50% increased physical and magical damage against insects. Again, rare type of killer, it's okay. So in the base form, he's an ice-focused physical attacker. In his shift form, he's an ice-focused physical mage attacker. So much like Benevolent Beauty Rem and Wildcard Ace, he's using physical killers on magic abilities, which is technically a good thing. However, unlike Wildcard Ace and Benevolent Beauty Rem, he's not a bolting strike chainer. He is chaining Absolute Mirror of Equity and Stardust Ray in base, and Absolute Mirror of Equity and Chaos Wave Awakened in his shift form. Although I should mention his shift form is more or less a LB finisher, where he pretty much excels in. Okay, so how good is he, right? He's very easy to gear, I should mention first and foremost. So I'll be going through the goods and the bads in order. He's very easy to gear. He has 200% passive equipment attack in base and 300% equipment attack and magic in his shift form. Very easy to gear. He's a very strong LB finisher. He has a 158 modifier on his LB in shift based off of physical attacks, which is very good. Like I mentioned, he uses physical killers and buffs a rare killer type, which is 150% against insects. 3 uses per battle. Pretty good, I'd say. And like I already mentioned, he has a decent vision card, making him quite a decent investment. And the bad things about him, once you need him for Dark Visions, which is in February, he will be power crept. So you might want to hold on onto your Lapis. He's weak in his base form. He only has slightly more damage than Neo Vision Raegen, and as you might know, Neo Vision Raegen is quite old at this point. And his shift form is weaker than Physalis, Neo Vision Physalis, both in chaining plus LB finishing. So even though he provides a decent killer or a rare killer type, his damage falls off rather quickly. What I found really interesting about Lasswell Neo Vision is that he can self-imbue wind, but he doesn't provide any wind imperils. And it's only a 150% LB increase on his Grandis. Yeah, I mean, good units such as Terra, they do 250. Or 200, that'd be good as well, but 150 is a little bit too low for me. And the final question is, should you pull? So if you're entirely focused on Dark Visions, you should not pull. And even with the question, even if you're asking me, what if I don't have Terra? It's too bad for you, but still don't pull. We will cover better unit in just a few minutes. So what happens if there's an insect boss in Dark Vision for the final stage? I can safely tell you that is not happening for the next 4 months. And other than that, it won't matter because we'll have an uncapped damage cap for Dark Visions, I believe in March. And nobody of us will cap anywhere unless you're the greatest whale on Earth and can STMR 6 units. That might be an issue for you then, but not for us mortals. So, if you're not interested in Dark Vision and you really like Lasswell, go ahead. That's pretty much the rule with Brave Exvius always. If you're pulling for fan favorites or your personal favorites, go ahead. But if you're really interested in Dark Visions, don't pull. That's that easy. Please also be aware that Neo Vision Physalis will outperform on fights designed for magic damage. Dealers such as Chimera Extreme, which we will be getting pretty soon, and Lasswell being a physical attacker, he will do no damage at all to that monster. You will need actual magic DPS. Okay, let's move on to the next one. And these guys, they are pretty much the best units you will get within the next month or months even. So Lasswell and Raegen, they are tag units. Tag units have one special ability. They chain in tag, meaning they chain on their own. You do not need to have any other pair for them. They do that by themselves. So the Trustmaster reward is you get 30% attack flat, unconditional. You gain 40% attack if you're wearing a sword and 40% attack if you're wearing a katana. So wearing both is actually pretty cool because you'll be having 110 attack just from that Trustmaster. Materia. Their Super Trustmaster is a sword with 192 attack, pretty high, 75% physical increase against dragons, and 25% increased LB damage. Very good Super Trustmaster if you're asking me. The vision card is okay-ish, I would say. It has 100 base HP, 40 base attack, and on level 10, 200 HP base and 90 base attack. Level 4 passive, 25 attack when dual wielding. Same applies to the level 7, so 50% in total. And the level 10 is uninspiring with 20% HP increase. Who cares about HP in Dark Visions, honestly? Now his base form is an ice-focused physical attacker. In shift form, he's a physical fire attacker with a very strong LB. He chains Absolute Mirror of Equity in base and Absolute Mirror of Equity and tag in his shift form, while also being a strong LB finisher. Okay, let's move on to the next slide. So how good are they? And as you can see, the pros cons list, it's a little bit biased, right? So they are super strong chainer LB finishers with absurd burst potential on turn 4 already. They reach their highest point on turn 4, which is really good for Dark Visions. They also have strong sustained damage if you're looking for a more trial focused unit. Great STMR, like I said, they self-chain with the tag chains, so you do not need a second copy of tag chaining, etc. On the flip side though, as you can see on the bad side of things, tag chains are very hard to chain with. So for example, trying to chain tag and Amoe, absolute minimum of equity, that's going to be a little bit harder, and you'll have to use FFBE chain, for example, to properly do that. Lasswell and Raegen also provide a 150% dragon killer buff to the party, physical and magical. That's the cool thing about this. They also do have 200% dragon killer passively, making gearing for that type of killer very, very easy, especially combined with their 75% Super Trust Master. No, was it Super Trust Master? Let me just move back one slide. Yeah, Super Trust Master, 75%. They do provide a self 30% fire and ice amplify for physical and magic, which is cool. And something very new about upcoming units is they do have 70% increased damage against broken enemies. I want to stress that for those of you who are mainly focused on trials or non-Dark Visions, all the upcoming challenges, they use the break gauge. And if you're breaking the gauge and pick, for example, Lasswell and Raegen, they will do 70% flat damage more to those targets. It's not just somewhere in the huge formula. It's, for example, you're doing 100 damage after all the buffs, etc., right? And now you're adding this to the whole equation, and that's 170 with that 70% increase. That's how good this is. Oh, by the way, 3-star Bahamut adds 50% to that. Yeah, it's really good, but not so needed for Dark Visions. We do not have break gauges in Dark Visions. Luckily, we should say. His vision card, rather underwhelming. I'd rather use Riku's vision card for the 110 attack, to be honest. And like I already said, tag chains are hard to chain with. So yeah, should you pull? Yes, absolutely. You should not skip them. You will see me use Lasswell and Raegen for the January Dark Visions, and you will be sorry to skip them. You will regret it, absolutely. Now, is there another chance for a super strong attacker for Dark Visions? Yes, we will get to that later in the video, but really you should not skip them. It's pretty much the same as if you skip Terra and regret it already, you will have that same feeling with Lasswell and Raegen. I promise you that. Okay, moving on to the next tag units that are Rain and Fina. So their Trustmaster reward is 30% attack and magic. You will gain 30% attack if you're wearing a great sword. So the 30% attack and magic, they are unconditional. You do get conditional 30% attack when wearing a great sword, and 30% magic if you're wearing a bow. Their Super Trustmaster is a great sword with 184 attack and 176 magic. It provides 50% accuracy with a variance of 1 to 1.6. It's a little bit much, to be honest, and I'd rather prefer Supreme Sword of Light, which is 11's STMR. It only has a variance of 1 to 1.1, which is a little bit more preferable, to be honest. The good thing about the Super Trustmaster of Rain and Fina is that it provides 100% increased LB damage. It's something, but honestly, the variance is a little bit high. The vision card, 45 base attack and 45 base magic on level 1, 80 to both on level 10. Their passives, level 4, 40% attack with a greatsword, 40% magic with a bow, same applies to level 7, and on level 10 you get 30% fire and light resistance, unconditional. Yeah, It's okay-ish, but not too exciting, to be honest. So in the base form, Rain and Fina are physical, fire, and hybrid attackers. In the shift form, light, magic, and hybrid attackers. They chain with Absolute Mirror of Equity and Stardust Drain base, and Absolute Mirror of Equity and tag in their shift form. And as you can see, the good and the bad, it's rather not so convincing, right? So the STMR is okay-ish, and they also provide 70% increased damage against broken enemies. They also have tag chains, which are, again, hard to chain with. And they also apply a 150% beast killer to the whole party, which is physical and magical. So it is something. The bad is, though, it's only a 15% fire amplify, physical and magic, but yeah, it's a bit on a lower side, right? Their vision card, rather mediocre. They have weak fire and earth magic in shift form, so in their shift form they do have other elements to use, but they're rather weak. Their total damage is also on the lower side of things, significantly below Riku in regards to burst damage, for example, which makes them rather uninteresting, to be honest. So should you pull? If you're entirely focused on Dark Visions, you should not. Outside Dark Visions, there's still no real purpose, as there are better physical and magical DPS out there already. That does not include the ones we are going to cover. So all in all, they're a rather mediocre unit, and they should read do not pull, do not put. Oops, that is a mistake on my end. You should not pull unless you really, really like them. Okay, next up, Charlotte and Physalis. I should say right now, these are the worst units we'll be covering today. So their Trustmaster is a materia with 20% attack for swords and 20% attack for guns. And it also provides unconditional 50% equipment attack when dual wielding. Super Trustmaster is a gun that is 160 attack, 28 defense, and 36 spirit. It also increases magic points by 30% and recovers 3% magic points per turn. Their vision card, 30 base attack on level 1, 70 base attack on level 10. Passive, level 4, 25 attack for swords, 25 for guns. Same applies to level 7. And their level 10 ability is 20% attack only for Brave Exvius units. In the base form, they are a lot of things. They are buffers, they are debuffers, and attackers. In their shift form, they are light attackers. They chain Bolting Strike in base and Bolting Strike and tag in shift. And as you can see on how good they are, the only really good thing they have going for them is 60% general mitigation, and that only can be used once per battle. I just put it in here just so it doesn't look like I really hate the units. Me personally, I like the design of Charlotte and Physalis, but they're bad all around. So as their tier Trustmaster and Super Trustmaster are rather underwhelming. They are a contender for the worst vision card I've seen to date. They only provide 75% attack and magic breaks, nothing else. They have lower damage than Kairi, which already was on the lower side of things. They provide absolutely no killer. They have no self 300% attack buff, it's only 250. And you can't even properly chain them with other chains other than themselves. So yeah, I guess that's pretty much all there is to say about them. Should you pull? Absolutely not. If you really want a unit that is bad at everything, Charlotte and Physalis are right up your alley. Save your Lapis, really, really, really save your Lapis and do not pull. There's absolutely no reason to pull for Physalis and Charlotte. Okay, next up, magic. True magic, I should say. Dark Fina Sol, another tag unit. The Trustmaster is a materia for 30% magic. Unconditional, 30% magic if you're wearing a rod, and 30% magic if you're wearing a whip. Super Trustmaster is a rod with 198 magic, pretty high, It also provides 50% equipment magic when single wielding, and the same applies when you're dual wielding. Their vision card, 100 HP base and 40 base magic on level 1, 200 HP base and 90 magic base on at level 10. Level 4 passive is 25 magic increase when wearing a robe and 25 magic if you're wearing a rod, meaning 50% because who doesn't want to use a robe, right? And the same applies to level 7, meaning we are looking at 100% magic increase just from the vision card alone. And level 10 passive is rather uninspiring, 30% fire earth dark resistance for brave X-Base units only. In base form, they are rather underwhelming fire magic attacker, and in shift form, they are a very strong earth magic attacker as well as LB finisher. They are chaining Chaos Wave Awakened in base and Chaos Wave Awakened plus tag in shift form. So how good are they? And don't get fooled by the rather large the good side. We will see why in a moment. So the good thing is they are the only unit that provide 135 Earth Imperil on their shifted LB, which is pretty high. Self-chaining, of course. They do have a strong STMR. I really like the rod. They also have the 70% increased damage against broken enemies. 150% Demon Killer, which is a party buff available on turn 1. And Demon Killer are also on the rather scarce side of things, so you actually have some merit when you're pulling for them. They do have very strong mods on their chaining abilities and 200% Demon Killer passively, which is again rather very high and makes gearing them a little bit easier for killers. The bad, of course, tag chains are hard to chain with. They only provide 15% of physical magic amplify to the party. I mean, it's still a party buff, so you're not entirely focused on using an LB for more, such as Phasey, but you can always work around that, for example, and it's 3 uses per battle. What's rather striking is that they do not provide a fire amp for their base form, even though the base form is all around fire damage, so kind of weird, I think. And their limit burst is rather weak. It has a 120x mod or 120% mod, which is kind of weak. You're pretty much mainly doing this for the Earth Imperil, I would feel like. Okay, so should you pull? That entirely depends. If you do not have Neo Vision Terra, you might want to consider pulling here. It's still a little bit tricky, I feel like. So they do provide a strong turn 4 burst with 140% mod ability and 135 Earth Imperil, which is again the highest in the game. So meaning for any Earth magic stages in Dark Visions, these girls will do the trick. Although I don't know if Sol is actually good, I believe he's a dude. I'm not sure. However, I should mention the burst potential, just if you're looking at the grand scheme of things, is a little bit lower than other units such as Lasswell Raegen, who deal 50% more damage, for example, than Dark Fina Sol. And her usefulness for the final DV boss is rather dwindles, I should say. But again, 150% Demon Killer, that's nothing to scoff at, right? So all in all, they're a very strong mage tag unit, but limited use due to their Earth Elemental lock. Okay, let's move on to the next one. Now, Akstar Cleome, you will see some similarities to Lasswell Raegen in just a few minutes or seconds. So the Trustmaster reward is a materia, 70% attack if you're wearing katanas and 30% LB damage. Their Super Trustmaster is also a katana, conveniently, and it has super high attack, 207, but it is a two-handed weapon. It has 50% accuracy and a variance of 1.05 to 1.55. Again, I'm not a huge fan of these variances, especially if it's that high. But it has 50% physical human killer and 50% LB damage on it, so this weapon is not bad, per se. The vision card, 40 base attack on level 1, 90 base attack on level 10. Passives, level 4, 40% attack on level 7. Again, 40 attack if you're wearing a katana, applies to both. And on level 10, you will receive 50% equipment attack, and 25 accuracy when single wielding any weapon. And that applies only to FFBE units. In base form, Akstar is probably the leading damage dealer, so it's Ice physical finisher. And in shift form, it's Cleome, obviously, because they become a Dark physical finisher. They're chaining Absolute Mirror of Equity in base and only tag attacks, which is a novelty for these tag units, in shift. Okay. They are rather good. How good are they? The good side of things, self-chaining via tags. They do have a good STMR and a strong STMR, like I mentioned. They also provide 70% increased damage against broken enemies. They do have a 150 human killer party buff, which is available on turn 1. Although human killers are rather widespread already, having a party buff at 150 value might actually replace Mastermind Zorn to some degree. I still don't think we will ever not use Mastermind Zorn on final bosses, but it's clear that Gumi or Alim are trying to get rid of him with all these party buffs, right? And they do provide absurd turn 5 dark burst damage in their shift form. It is a little bit lower than the turn 4 burst that Lasswell and Raegen can do, but it's only slightly weaker, and I'm talking about 20 million in difference with full STMRs here. What are the bads? So the bads, obviously, tag chainers are hard to chain with. They only provide 15% ice and dark amplify physical magic though. It's a party buff. The weirdest thing about Akstar Cleome is they are using an ability that has 3 turn or reaches its maximum on turn 3, and that is needed for the absurd burst, by the way. And that ability has an instrument imperil. I do not know why instrument specifically, and not katana, but the katana imperil is only on their LB. I don't know who thought of this, but I think it's a kind of dumb idea. Who's ever going to use instruments? So I found that really bad and dumb, to be honest. So should you pull? Technically, yes, you should. If you skipped Lasswell and Raegen, you should pull here. Akstar and Cleome are pretty good. But if you have Lasswell and Raegen, you might consider skipping them, as their damage is, like I said a few seconds ago, Akstar and Cleome deal slightly less damage than Lasswell and Raegen, and Lasswell and Raegen hit their maximum damage 1 turn earlier than Akstar and Cleome. The Katana Imperil might be useful if you're not using NVA Shadow, for example. He also does have the Katana Imperil. But yeah, I'm still not sold on their mod increasing ability imperiling instruments. I think it's a stupid idea. So yeah, all in all, if you didn't pull for Lasswell or Raegen, you should choose to pull on Akstar and Cleome, and you will get your second chance to get a meta DPS unit. Okay, and the last one, that is Neo Vision Lightning. I didn't include her name or full name here because the Japanese name for them is Tama Shinokai Ho Sha, which translates to something like Liberator or Savior of Souls. We'll see what Gumi translates that to. I'm pretty sure they will somehow translate this to Savior of Souls, Lightning, or something like that. We'll see. Anyways, so their Trustmaster reward is a heavy shield, which has 50 attack, defense, magic, and spirit. It provides 50% equipment, magic, and attack when single-wielding any weapon. Kind of cool. But the real kicker is her Super Trust Master reward, which is a materia that increases the chain modifying cap by 100%. I'm not quite sure how the global version of the game will handle it, and I'm quite sure we won't be able to stack the materia on a unit, but on JP you can stack this, which means that technically speaking, a true dual hand unit can have the 6 times chain modifying cap, which is insane. We will see how the global side of things handles this, but increasing the chain mod cap by 100 is absurd. I guarantee you will see me using that materia on every single unit, unless it's not eligible to, or it doesn't do anything for true dual wield units, because I think 7x true dual wield chain cap is kind of overpowered. But we'll see. I will definitely get that materia at least once. So her vision card is 40 attack and magic, base attack and magic. Level 10, it's 80% to both. And her passive, level 4, is 50% attack and magic if she's wearing, or if you're wearing light or heavy shield. No, it is 50% for both, sorry. Same applies to level 7, and you will receive 50% equipment, attack, and magic when single wielding any weapon, and that is restricted to Final Fantasy 13, 13.2, and Lightning Returns Final Fantasy 13 units. A quick note here, we will be getting Radiant Lightning and original Lightning Neo Vision Awakens next to Neo Vision Lightning, so that is why this rule applies here. In her base form, she's a lightning attacker and support unit. In her shift form, she's a magic chainer and LB finisher. In base form, she chains with Absolute Mirror of Equity and Bolting Strike, and only Bolting Strike in her shift form. And the good things about her: absurdly good STMR. She provides 85% breaks and a 90% spirit break on her limit burst. She has a party lightning imbue and 15% lightning amplifier on one ability. And she provides 2 stacks of Mirage with her base limit burst. And it's a party buff, just like Mastermind Zorn does pretty much. The bad thing, the vision card is only good on herself, which kind of eliminates the vision card for me. Her limit burst is 4 elements. The 4 elements used are fire, ice, lightning, and wind. And she only imperils 2 of those, which are lightning and wind, at 120. And for Dark Visions, using 4 elements in one ability, I don't think this is good. Especially if you're only imperil 2. So, it's still only a 15% lightning amp, even though it's a party buff, it's only 15%. We do have better units with amplifiers. I mean, she's one of the very few ones. I believe she's the only one for lightning amplifier at the moment. But still, I mean, we have Phasey, 25%. We have Kairi. I believe it's also 20 or 25%. Why is it 15? I don't understand. And another bad thing about Neo Vision Lightning is she has absolutely no killers. So yeah. Okay. So should you pull? Yes, all things considered, you should pull. Even though her damage is on the lower side of things, it's rather on par with Dark Fina Sol. Her crazy good STMR really makes up for that. Best case scenario is get her STMR 3 times and use it on your best DPS for Dark Visions, and you'll have an easier time capping damage, as long as it's possible, that is. And you will see me use her STMR rather often, I would say. I'm hoping to get her more than once and not just get her pitied once and that's it. That'd be very unfortunate. I'd rather have it twice or thrice. That'd be cool. So yeah, Neo Vision Lightning is rather good overall, with decent sustained and burst DPS, but she actually mainly serves as STMR fodder for other units. But she's pretty good for trials if you're planning on using her for that type of content. Okay. Well, that's pretty much it for January. Regarding the units which we will be getting, right? Maybe we are not getting Lightning for this month. She might come in February. It really depends how Gumi schedules things, right? So next week, 100% story event with Lasswell. The week after that, we will see the tag chain units. We'll see if it's the raid event. We will be getting Dark Fina and Sol first. And if it's the mocking, we will get the Rain, the Lasswell, and the Charlotte combo, I believe. I'm not quite sure. But yeah, it's what's coming the last week of January is pretty much up for debate. It might be a surprise global exclusive unit. It might be a collab unit. Who knows, actually, or it might be actually Lightning. So we will see about that. Nonetheless, thank you all for watching. I do want to mention again, these are my personal views, and who will I be pulling for, right? So I'll be pulling for sure for Lasswell and Raegen. I will pull for sure on the Neo Vision Lightning banner, and I might use only tickets for Dark Fina and Sol. That is my plan for now. And yeah, like I said, thank you all for watching. Happy New Year to everyone. And we'll see each other for the next video. Goodbye.